What's up, gang? Carlton Flowers, your crypto pro, with a special video that I wanted to share with you. This is a 12-minute video that I shared exclusively on the group. They've already seen it if you were in the Telegram group, and it was such good information I wanted to go ahead and throw this up on YouTube. And what this is looking at the market from the 1 hour chart perspective to see what it looks like with this dump going on. So I had done a 4 hour chart update earlier, and I also did the update on YouTube a little bit earlier, just when the market started to dump. And so I was going to put together another update looking at the 4 hour chart where I was seeing that everything was about to bounce and recover. But then I thought, let me check the 1 day chart just to see what the overall picture is. And that's where I was very surprised. So check out this video right here, where I'm going to talk about what it looks like from the 1 day chart perspective for Bitcoin and some of my favorites. And you might be surprised at what you see. Here we go. Okay, gang, another update here. I was looking at the pricing on the 4 hour charts on the computer, and I was thinking that we're rebounding already when you look at the 4 hour charts. But then I thought, let me pull back and check out the 1 day charts to see where we are overall. So with the 4 hour, everything is bottomed out. We see a lot of stochastic crossovers going on, and it looks like we are about to have a bounce. But that could be a bounce on the 4 hour within the 1 day of an overall downtrend. And let me show you this, what I'm looking at. So let's go to BTC here, and we are on the 1 day chart. So notice where we're at on the stochastic cycle, and notice the fact that, okay, price movements on this stochastic pretty much dictate each other. So here where we stayed in this high oversold zone, we had the run up. And then we had our correction dipping down to oversold. The correction is there. And then we had a movement right back to oversold, and it stayed there yet again. And so here's the next run up. Then we had a correction here, which is reflected through this stochastic bottom here, cycled up again. There's another run up, and then we had a correction all the way down to right here. And up until this point, you notice that each low point on the stochastic corresponds to a higher low, okay? So look at this. This means that you are still within your uptrend. Now, let's look at the peaks. This peak gave us this return price around 42,000. The next peak took us up to what? 56,000. The next peak took us up here to, what was that? Over 60, I'm not sure. And then this peak that we are sitting at right now almost looks like a lower high. So if we don't hang out up here, which could happen, if the stochastic cycles down again, we're looking at a correction. And so that correction could hopefully just bottom out on the 50-period moving average, which would bring us to what? Let me erase all this so I can see a price. We would be somewhere around 52,000. That's if it does not recover. But we can already see that the stochastic is still pointing downward. We had a crossover right here, and we dipped, but then it moved and crossed over again and went up and then crossed over again. So we had two little fake outs there, and it is currently pointing bearish. Now, so when we look down at the MACD for the confirmation, we see the fast line and the slow line diverging right there. And we see the beginning of the printing of red candles on the histogram right there. So just the same, we can notice that at the peak of each one of these, it corresponds to the peak on the histogram. And then this little bowl here is what happens as we dip and recover and get back to the beginning. So here is our next peak. It went to right here, but then we had a little fake out where it starts to go down, and you see how it prints those light green candles. That means they're shrinking. But then it goes back dark after this little head fake candle, light green in between, sandwich in between. And then at the peak of this green histogram candle, we got that peak right there. The correction comes in. Here's our little bowl dip, and at the bottom of the bowl is the bottom of the price. So now notice that this little mountaintop here for the next set of green bars is not as big, but we still pushed and got a higher corresponding price right there. Now, look at this one. How big is this one? It's not that big. And it returned the first lower high. So look at this trend on these peaks. It kind of went up and then it's starting to sail down. And then notice that our oscillator action. So the oscillators kind of went on an interesting trip where we had peak down, bigger peak down, smaller peak down, smaller peak down. All right. So what does that mean? Well, it means that there is a possibility of the stochastic cycling all the way down. And if it does, like I said, we're going to have to look and see what price it returns. And if we bounce right there on that 50-period EMA on the 1-day chart. Dear God, I hope we don't ever go back down to the 50 to the 200 period EMA on the 1-day chart, because that would give us a price that will come down somewhere around this volume node right here. Let's turn off the drawing and we'll just look. This volume node peaks out at like 34,000. So if we started to dive down, I would imagine that this moving average line would also start to curl down a little bit and would have probably meet right there. That's a worst case scenario. I'm not saying that's going to happen. It's just worst case. So I prepare myself for this kind of stuff. So best case scenario, if it is a correction, we come here and we move back up. And then the worst case scenario, of course, would be coming all the way down to this 200 and then moving back up, which overall, we're still in a bull market. If we went all the way down to 37,000, we're still in an uptrend because that 200 period EMA on the 1-day is rising. All right, so let's just look at some of the other ones here just really quick. If we look at XRP on the 1-day, it looks really ugly. That looks like a blow off top to me on XRP. And like I said before, I hope and pray that you did not buy into that run, because that could not be a good thing for you. Because right now we're peaked out on this stochastic. We have a crossover. It looks like the MACD is at a peak. This is very wide right here. Okay, I would bet you that we're going to start to get the light green bars start to print down here, and it may cycle down into the negative below the zero line. So what's not good about XRP is the 50-period EMA is way down here. We could correct to that 50-period EMA and bring down a price of 60 cents. If that happens, I'm probably going to buy XRP. I'm not buying this for a while though, maybe a month or two, but I will consider it if it corrects down to this volume node right here that coincides with where it would touch on the 50-period EMA. So that's XRP. Let's turn this off and jump back and look at ETH and maybe a couple of mores. A couple of mores. We'll look here at a couple of mores. By the way, don't think I'm strange because I got these weird, goofy female glasses on. These are my wife's readers, and they're just like higher quality than mine, which are all scratched up. And so I steal her glasses sometimes. So this is Ethereum. And look at that stochastic on the 1-day, peaked out and looking like it could do one of these numbers. Look at the MACD. The fast line is curling down. You see that little curly Q right there? It looks like we've got a crossover coming right here. And we're also printing light green candles, which tells me that the stochastic, or the MACD rather, is about to cycle down. So worst case scenario, I just can't talk today. If we do one of these numbers right here and go all the way down to oversold, we could come down to the 200 period, which would bring us to $1,200. That would be like heinous. If we just touch down on the 50, that would be more around, say, 1,700, 1,800. And even if the worst case scenario is what we get, we're still in an uptrend. We're still in a bull market. That's not the end of the world. So what I tend to do, I look at these big dips and dives as buying opportunities. And I always keep in mind, my mindset is it can happen. And if it does, it's like hitting the rewind button and getting to buy all of the alts that you missed out on that went on a run before you could get them. Let's look at Chainlink real quick, and then we'll look at LUME and then call it quits. So Chainlink is doing the same thing. It looks like we've got, there I go, sounding like Barack Obama again. Here we have a stochastic crossover. It's about to happen. Volume is lowering down. And we could have a price that dips down to the 50-period EMA right there. Okay, so also the stochastic looks like it is peaked. I think that We see the fast line is curling over, so that means a crossover is coming, and that means that this histogram is going to flip and probably jump into the under the zero line area. So again, worst case scenario for Chainlink is jumping down to the 200 EMA on the 1-day chart, which is different than the 200 EMA on the 4-hour chart because it's the period. The period here is 1 day, and on the 4-hour, the period is 4 hours. If it did that, we're still in a bull market, not a bad thing. So that means the price would jump down and probably continue to come back up. It's worst case scenario. Again, I don't think it's going to do that. I think that we're probably going to see like a bounce once this is done and a return right back up there to bullish territory. All right, let's look at LUME. I like LUME, and here's why. Because on the 1-day chart, we've got a pretty good situation. Look at this 50-period EMA riding high. So if we were to touch down on that, we're only looking at a correction of what, 17 cents right here. You know, on the short term, worst case scenario, we could do 11 because here would be the volume node that would coincide with the crossing of the 200, which would bring us down to 11 cents. If that happened, I might load up again, but it's probably not because the stochastic is already down here in middle territory. But look at this big sell signal. Get out of there. I hate it when that happens. Continue. All right, look at this crossover. It has already happened. We're already printing a red one right there on the histogram. So we're going to do one of these numbers. And then this oscillator is going to come down like this. And then we'll probably have a dip into oversold. Okay, so we'll have to look and see. Does it rebound here or does it rebound here? And either way, just as before, we're still in a bull market. No big deal. So all you have to do is just go grab this is a Snickers bar moment. Go grab your Snickers bar because it might be a while. So let me see if there's anything else I want to look at. I could talk about all of these, but we still got red across the board. Let's look at one more of my favorites, self-key. I love my self-key. Let's just bring that up real quick. And self-key, actually, I like it too, because if we jump down to the 50 period, we're looking at a correction of somewhere around 1.9 cents. And if we go all the way down into the deep dive, it's going to be back to 1 cent. And we're already in a very negative situation with the stochastic. We're already closer. We're at about, what, the 37% line. We could cross over and go oversold and turn around, which makes me think we're going to bounce on that 50 and not make it down here to the 200. And plus, we got a double head fake crossover here and here. We jumped up above the zero line and took it right back down. So this correction might not be too bad, and this MACD might curl back up once we get somewhere in this zone right here. So I'm just going to look for buying opportunities. I'll do another update and talk about some of the other favorites, but I just wanted to show you the 1 day since I was just about to put out a video that's very positive on the 4-hour. So when you see these bounces happening on the 4-hour, don't go popping the champagne bottles because the 4-hour is the action within the 1 day chart. So just keep this in mind. None of this could actually happen. And of course, this is not financial advice for people who don't know what they're doing and are looking for answers to all of their questions on decisions on buying stuff. My advice, don't buy anything unless you're willing to lose it, okay? Leave it alone. Play it safe. That's all I got for now. Until the next update, let me know what you think about this update and post your comments, please. We'll see you.